Hey, Real Nerds listeners, there's many ways you can interact with the Real Nerds podcast. You can email us at realnerds@gmail.com. You can hit us on Twitter @RealNerds. You want to check us out on Facebook? You can. Just look for Real Nerds Podcast. You want to leave us a voicemail? Just call 720-6nerds5. You want to listen to our episodes? You can check us out on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Men. Listen, I have my own podcast. I have my own podcast studio. I don't really care about those. What I really care about is the Real Nerds Podcast, the best podcast in the universe, in the multiverse, on all Earths, 616 and beyond. Listen to it, subscribe right now, and listen to this episode. Listen to all the episodes, but especially listen to the one that I'm on. It might be the best. Thank you, guys.
Camera, action!
Well, a real nerd knows who shot, and a real nerd can follow the plot, and a real nerd can...
talk film! I'm sorry.
Take it outside.
Well, a real nerd knows who shot, and a real nerd can follow the plot, and a real nerd will give it all they got. Lights, camera, action! Real nerds.
This is Real Nerds Podcast. And for over 10 years, we have seen a new movie and podcasted our experience to the world. This week, we saw Studio 666.
Does that mean that they're going to record an album with the devil?
Yes, because the rock and roll is devil.
Yeah, metal.
Stay tuned, where we'll tell you if we recommend the film or not, play the trailer, then spoil the film. We're also going to talk about Hollywood's big comeback and the big news story of the week. We're a movie podcast. We love movies. We love movies. How about you? I don't know. That's what I've gotten. Brad, how many times have you seen the Batman since Tuesday?
2 more times.
Nice.
Once in 40X.
Was it cool in 40X?
Not really.
Damn.
Not only was it like a repeat experience of the last time I went to 40X, where I sat in the handicap companion spots, and then like 15 minutes in, another group of young people sat down in the other section of that and just like gabbed away. You saw the movie. Like, there's not a lot of extra effects to put in it. It seems like they've turned off the scents, because I didn't smell any burning rubber throughout the movie. I didn't get misted. There's a ton of rain in that car chase, and I didn't get misted. Gotham City has a ton of like steam coming out of the streets, but there was no fog. It was pretty much just like seats moving, and that's about it.
What time did you see it at?
Like 10 p.m.
Was there a lot of people in the theater?
Yeah, it was pretty full. Like I said, I had to sit in the handicap companion spot because there's only 3 rows in the front section, and the front row's really close. So
yeah, I was just curious if there wasn't as many people, they toned it down, but it sounds like there was people there. So
yeah, I think they're just saving money, like on maintenance, and the seats like were insane. Like, I felt like I was gonna like tossed out of it during that car chase. Like, they really ramped those up. But yeah, like, you walk by the sign when you walk in, and it has like all these effects advertised, and I really felt like I just got tossed around for 3 hours. So yeah, but again, there's not a ton of opportunities in that movie. Like, it's a lot of dramatic scenes. So
true.
But yeah, like the car chase should have seats moving and rain and tire smell and nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy. When I saw it, I've only seen one movie in 40X, and I saw Rise of Skywalker. It was badass, man. Like, when the title crawl was going, it tilted the seats back, so it was even more in 3D. And when Rey and Kylo Ren were fighting on the Death Star, each side of the theater was lit based on their lightsabers. So it was, and then every time they hit, you'd feel it in your back or something. And there's lots of smoke and stuff.
It did have the air cannons, but it was like a couple times programmed to when Batman would punch somebody. So like the air cannons next to your ears, like they had those, but it was intermittent. But yeah, like the lighting effects, like that's another feature that I didn't notice.
Do you think maybe too they tone it down for the handicap area because just in case they need to for people with special needs in that spot?
I mean, it's not that far away from all the other seats. So I don't know if they can target it like that, but maybe. I'm
just trying to think of things that maybe why.
Yeah, and I thought 3D was like another feature of it, like they had to be in 3D, so like that wasn't a thing.
Yeah, because wouldn't that be the third dimension, and then the fourth dimension is all the bells and whistles?
Yeah, so I think like bare minimum you have to get to 3 first before you can do 4, right? So
yeah,
I don't know. Movie was still badass though.
Yeah, no, movie's awesome. Movie is awesome. Zach, did you do anything cool this week?
Not really. It worked. But I did get to enjoy a nice belated birthday dinner with my family last night, and then my girlfriend and I sat down and watched Lincoln, and it was her first time watching Lincoln.
No, you have a girlfriend.
Yeah. It was the first time she had ever watched Lincoln. She was pleasantly surprised how much she enjoyed it. So
James's favorite film over our 10 years is Lincoln.
Out of all of them, that was in episode 300. That was what he.
Yeah,
it's been a while since we did that. No, I still love the film. It's fantastic, but we're gonna try to go see the Batman this week because she still has not seen it yet. Cool. And I want to watch it again. And I'm hoping that by the time we get our paychecks, we can go. So then we can go to IMAX again because that was the most fun ever. I had not seen an IMAX film in a while before going to the Batman with you guys for it. So I've kind of grown re-addicted to IMAX theaters. So I just like the way that Colorado Center 9 is set up that I want to just keep going back to it.
Yeah, I mean, IMAX for the car chase alone is awesome when Batman turns on the Batmobile.
Oh yeah,
you can feel the whole theater rumbling. It's pretty awesome.
Actually, I take that back. You and I did go to the Mills IMAX for Black Widow.
True,
but I feel like it's not a real IMAX. The seating arrangement is off and the screen's not to full capacity, but still going to a big screen event like Black Widow was fun, but going to the true IMAX for Batman was such a treat.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know if like right now, I mean, I know it's like there's been slim pickings thus far, but that this is my favorite movie of the year, and it will take a while for anything to knock it out. So, I just enjoyed it so much. Like I read an article that made me realize like this movie has more Batman in it than most Batman movies have had.
Oh no, I said in our review, it's the movie that he's in the Batman costume more than he's Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, which is really great. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to more Batman. I don't know if I can say the same thing for our movie review this week, but yeah, more Batman, please give me more. And, I'd like another one right now, please. Like make that sequel today.
Did you notice, on your first watch, the murdered reporter's name was Edward Elliot?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Which we were talking about on our episode, what possible villains, they could go for the next movie. And that totally sets up Hush because that newscast talking about it even like flashes on the screen, Hush ?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I think that'd be great.
No, I think so too. I've been reading a lot with Matt Reeves, his interviews afterwards, because now you can read spoilers, I don't have to go to Corinne's Twitter page to see spoilers. I'll get it from the source. And he talks about Hush, Mr. Freeze, and what else did he say? The Court of Owls is what Pattinson wants, which I think would be really cool.
It ties into the whole Gotham families thing, yeah.
Exactly. So I think that'd be really cool. It'd be kind of a continuation of this story.
I also appreciated that he said, just because I put Joker in there doesn't mean you're getting Joker next time. I really appreciated that. It's not that I don't want another Joker movie. It's more just like, yeah, but I would personally like to see some other Batman villains get their shot at a nice adaptation and not a silly, like Mr. Freeze, like what we talked about in the episode. Mr. Freeze, I think there'd be a really cool way to do Mr. Freeze somehow. And I would trust Matt Reeves with what he does with it. So, I'm not as familiar with Hush as you guys. So,
I should pick up the graphic novel. It's great.
Okay. Then
it's like a murder mystery.
You can give me an excuse to go to Mile High Comics.
And it ties into the Riddler too. So,
yeah,
it
does. Yeah.
It also kind of mirrors, like, the whole Marvel universe. They adapted a lot of modern storylines and runs into the movies. So yeah, it's probably cool if DC starts doing that, because they've pretty much mined all their
what I
stuff.
think is what I like about the Batman and what Marvel does really well is they do the newer storylines, but they add their own little tweak to them,
Yeah.
Which the Batman doesn't follow. I mean, it has influences from other Batman stories. I mean, like Batman Year One, Catwoman's not a stripper in it, thank God, but she works at a nightclub and things like that. And
The Long Halloween Without Calendar Man and like Harvey Dent stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Agreed.
Wonderful.
This week on Real Nerds, we saw Studio 666, or should I say Foo Fighters present Studio 666. Brad, do you recommend Studio 666?
Maybe you should even amend it to say Dave Grohl presents Studio 666, because it definitely felt like a personal project that like the band was kind of like their arm was twisted to do a little. It's fun. I like their music, but I don't follow a lot of what they do, like hardcore. But yeah, it just seemed like a I don't know, 2-hour inside joke. Like a wish list of all the like on-screen horror things that Dave Grohl wanted to just kind of do. It's silly. It's ridiculous, and it's kind of charming, but in the end, I wasn't sure what I was supposed to take away from it.
Zach?
Yeah, I mean, if you lower your expectations a little bit on what you're going to get out of a horror comedy, I think you'll have fun with it. I enjoyed the time that I had watching it. It's kind of hard to like recommend, because it's like, Brad said, it feels like it's an inside joke that that the audience is not really privy to unless you're like really into the Foo Fighters. But the horror elements and the comedy elements are fun enough to kind of keep it afloat. And there were some fun kills in this that were using practical effects that I really enjoyed. So I mean, yeah, if you're looking for a fun, light horror movie that you've seen all the tropes before, but you just want to see them remixed a different way, I think this is totally worth a watch.
Yeah, I think I am about the same as both of you. I never saw a trailer for it. I only saw the poster, and I only knew it was coming out because it was coming out the week before the Batman. Mm-hmm. And I says, man, we need a movie to watch. And so this was one of them. But what I liked about the film is they knew what kind of movie they were making, and they didn't take it seriously. I think there's some pacing issues in it. It kind of drags for a little bit, but for dudes who've never acted before, I mean, some of them aren't that good, but they believe what they're doing, so it's fun. And yeah, it's pretty gory and silly. It feels like it has a destined midnight showings at like the Esquire written all over it. Here's a trailer for Studio 666.
Foo Fighters, you gotta get me a record.
It's our 10th album. We gotta break the mold on this one. Let's go somewhere we've never been.
This place is amazing.
Do you guys get this overwhelming sense of debt? Whoa. Doesn't really seem like the right fit. Whoa, that's rad.
That was weird.
The sound of this house is the sound of album 10.
All right, you guys. Amps, living room.
Let me apologize in advance for all the rock we're about to make.
Got a couple of ideas I've been working on. I'll lay them on you.
Dude, wait. It's called Everlong, and you wrote it about 20 years ago.
How you feeling? Everything okay?
Ever since we moved into this house, my mind is flooded.
We all have writer's block.
This is not just a creepy rock and roll house. It allows spiritual entities to cross into our world.
Oh my God! Dude has got one flew over the cuckoo's nest crazy.
It's this place, man. Let's finish the track.
Can't we just wait, dude?
Play the drums.
You found a new musical note?
Hell yes, I did.
It's an L.
Any chefs in the group?
I'm pretty handy on a grill.
Yeah, you like your meat charred and dry.
He does make a killer barbecue.
What do we do?
We go save his ass.
Is the album almost done?
Yeah, it's killer. Here you go, man. Finish the song.
You did.
In the film Studio 666, the Foo Fighters are trying to release their 10th album, and they need a place to record it. Their manager guy sets them up in this house where this murder takes place 30 years prior, which we see at the opening of the film. And while they're there, Dave Grohl gets possessed by a murderous dude and starts killing off the band members. And
they kind of use that whole idea of the grunge era 90s and like the ideas of like the I don't know how to describe it, like the kind of like the tragedy surrounding like these like off to the side 90s bands and put it into this horror context. And so he's possessed by this person who infected a band called Dream Widow. Like I felt like it was kind of like the most subpar like way to get the horror going, but I guess it works for this movie.
It's the tone of it's really silly. I mean, I was on board when they have the meeting with their manager. Mm-hmm. Where they're talking and he says, we want to make an album that rocks so hard that it'll knock someone's dick off back into their mouth. And then they have this minute conversation about, so their dick's already been in their mouth. It's funny. And yeah, like the practical effects are really great. Really over the top. But I think my favorite band member is Sam because he's like not a great actor, but he's always really weird. You know, sleeping in the kitchen because it's next to the food.
Oh, Pat Smear, yeah.
I mean, Pat, yeah. And it's just bizarre.
The rest of the band had like a Scooby-Doo vibe where they're like just like hapless stumbling upon things. And yeah.
And I liked that it went totally for broke. I mean, the band died in horrible ways. Was it Remy was his name? Who's sawed in half with Whitney Cummings in bed.
Yeah,
that effect was
Rami
really
Daffy. Cool. Yeah, that was a fun callback to Friday the 13th a little bit, which was nice, but just completely going for broke with the chainsaw slicing through both of them.
It's you know, just some silly things where he made up a new chord called L. And then there's a part like towards the end where two band members are talking about it and they go, dude, it's like a fucking E. And he comes flying in behind him going, it's an L chord. It's just like weird stuff like that. I mean, I'm on board for the film. I think Will Forte was funny in it. I think the best cameo was Lionel Richie.
Yeah.
where he says, "We've all had Ride or Block, but that's my fucking song." I love that song.
Get your own songs.
Yeah. So stuff like that's really funny. But it did have weird pacing issues. The beginning was fun, but then it kind of dragged to get the horror element going.
Yeah. The middle, kind of feels like Gabriel's possessed and unpossessed.
Yeah.
Like it kind of feels like it goes around in circles a bit in the middle.
Yeah. It's a little inconsistent with its plot. And the only way you know that he's technically still inhabited is watching the other band members get killed, which I liked Chris's death on the grill. Because he had that the latex effect of his skin sticking to the grill. That was a nice little kill.
Yeah, how dumb his band was when he's eating Chris. And they go, "Oh, at least he's still eating."
And there's like a huge there's a human rib cage sitting there, and they still can't put it together.
It's comically over the top, and I think that's why I forgive some of the pacing issues. I mean, if I was a director or editor, I would probably trim about 20 minutes out of the movie, because I think you need to get to the possession faster. And I think in the middle, after he's possessed, then there's about another 30 minutes where it's, I don't know, it's just him being, kind of an asshole. But there's some funny moments, when he says, "I'm a rock star and I deserve to park here." So it's fun. Yeah, I'm not a big Foo Fighters fan. I mean, I know their music, but I don't know. I saw it at 10 o'clock in the morning at the Westminster Alamo, and I thought I was going to be the only one there. Because when I bought the ticket, I was the only one. But when the movie started, through the pre-show, it was like 3/4 full. I was like, "Holy shit!"
I feel like the one issue that I have with the film, in terms of, if I'm going to call anything out for the story, is that so they reverse the curse or whatever, and they set the other spirits free. But then we have Jeff Garlin and Leslie Grossman as it's revealed, like, oh, they were behind the plot this entire time. And I'm like, I think it's a little too late to do that.
Yeah.
I think you needed to cut that thread.
It goes a little longer. I think they could have cut that. Well, I guess you wouldn't see the other two guys die, but
I would have been fine with them surviving.
Oh yeah, totally. You could have just ended it with him being possessed in
the whole going solo thing felt like unsatisfying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That feels like the expected ending. But yeah, it's like, I thought it was 2 hours and 10 minutes. It was 1 hour and 46. And yeah, I think you'd take a half hour out of it.
Yeah, I agree.
Also, John Carpenter, and his, son, and, I think it's Cody Davis, Daniel Davies, did the opening theme, and John Carpenter is in this movie.
Yep.
And I thought, when I heard the theme, I'm like, oh, this is a Carpenter theme. And then I just see him recording in the studio with them, and I'm like, the fuck? Like, what are you doing here? Go off and get out. And then he actually has dialogue. Like, it was nice to see him. I was just, because we knew nothing about this film going in, it was just like a nice surprise on my end to be like, hey, John, what are you doing here? You should be literally anywhere else. But it was nice to see him. It's not as fun as the Lionel Richie cameo, but it's still a treat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also, it felt like a low budget movie, but I think that the effects and the production value actually felt really high, really expensive.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh yeah.
For what it was. So that's a
I
positive.
think obviously they saved money by keeping it in one location, really.
Right. And you have the guy who directed it did Hatchet 3, so it's not like he's a slouch or anything. He's got a good pedigree behind him to get something done efficiently. But
yeah,
I think it's I feel like I would have more fun with this if I was a better listener of the Foo Fighters. So I feel like there's something lost in the process, but oh well.
I don't know. I don't know if you have to be a fan of them. Maybe, but
yeah,
I don't know. I listen to their music. I don't know anything in their music that touches on these subjects. I guess I don't know really haven't read interviews with Dave Grohl about he's a huge like Exorcist fan or something. I don't know.
It does help because there's that one joke where he starts like previewing new chords for the band, and the band's just like, "Yeah, we did that song already. We did that song already." So, like that helps that joke if you already have heard those things. But, yeah,
cool. Yeah, I mean, check it out. I mean, I don't think you'll be, off for checking it out if you have nothing else to do and it's playing. I think there's worse ways to spend your time.
No, it was fun.
You could watch The Wish Dragon. Holy fuck! So I know we don't talk about what we've been watching, but I decided I was going to watch that with Kellen, and it's literally Aladdin but with a dragon. And I just wanted it to end. So yeah, Corinne, I watched it.
You wished it would end.
And yeah, that's all. That was my big wish. I wanted a refund from Netflix, but they don't give them for making you watch a shitty movie. Anywho, here is this week in the big Hollywood comeback. No surprise, boys, that the Batman topped the box office. But what is really cool is they put out the revised numbers today. They first had it at 128 million, and they just upped it to 134. So that means that its word of mouth is really good. And so good. It should make tons of money.
Yeah. But I was also looking at past Batman movies, and like The Dark Knight and Rises each did like 160, and Spider-Man No Way Home just did 250 in its opening weekend.
268.
270. So yeah, it's just kind of like it's successful, but it's like still not rushing it.
It's to be expected though, because this is the newest like iteration. So you're going to have people needing assurance that it's worth their time.
Yeah,
and then
remember, Batman Begins opened at 48 million, and I think there is somewhat of a bad taste in people's mouth from the Zack Snyder stuff.
I was looking at that too, and even those started at like 180 to 200. So
yeah, right. But yeah, well, I mean, Batman Superman started at 166, but it crashed bad because it has no staying power. So you got to kind of rebuild the trust for the DC projects. When you got stuff like Shazam and Aquaman that did really well. And I mean, Batman's obviously the second biggest superhero in the world. So,
right. And this movie is 3 hours long. So the fact that it pulled in that much on a flat 3 hour time is pretty impressive.
And it's really dark, and it's not, even though, Avengers Infinity War Endgame, aren't the like most happy movies, they still have that kind of Marvelness to them where there's really fun moments, where this movie has some, but it's pretty dark, and it asks a lot of questions about what it means to be a superhero and a person. So I think this one's going to make a lot of money, but it's going to be slow making lots of money.
I just looked up Aquaman. Yeah, it debuted at 67 million and still like it had long legs. So
yeah, and I mean, obviously next week there's really no movie coming out. Well, there is no movie wide, and then the next week after that, I think X is the only wide release, and I think it's the 24th when that Sandra Bullock movie comes out. So it's gonna have 2-3 weeks where it's going to make tons of money. But Tom Holland's still crushing it. Number 2 and number 4, Uncharted and Spider-Man still in the top 5, 12 weeks after it's been released. I know they pushed the release of its Blu-ray and digital release because it kept on making so much money. So good for Spidey. Good for fans of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Sweet. And I have the news story, Zach, unless you have one.
I've actually got a few, so I've only got to pick one, but one I have that pertains to the box office, actually.
Cool. Here's the news story for the week.
It's real news.
So one thing that we keep in mind, I don't think this is going to be a huge indicator of how the box office will go for the next couple of weeks, but obviously the situation in Ukraine has compelled many studios to pull their releases, and Paramount Pictures on the 1st of March joined the list of studios pulling their releases from Russia by saying that they will no longer be showing The Lost City or Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in Russia. The studio confirmed its altered release plan, saying, as we witness the ongoing tragedy in Ukraine, we have decided to pause the theatrical release of our upcoming films in Russia, including The Lost City and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. We stand by all those implicated by the humanitarian crisis around Ukraine, Russia, and our international markets, and will continue to monitor the situation as it unfolds. So they've joined a slew of other studios, including Disney, who was the first to really pull from this by pulling the film Turning Red, which is, for us, we're only getting it as a US Disney Plus thing. But Warner Brothers pulled the Batman, and Sony says it's pulling Morbius. And I'm like, but Morbius, when's that even coming out? But yeah, so it does.
April 1st, Zach, witnessed the birth of a new kind of hero.
No, thank you. I'm fine.
I like how in the trailer he says he has some kind of bat radar, and this man's a doctor, and he just doesn't just say sonar. Like,
I know it. Fuck, man. I don't know. Yeah,
we'll have fun with it, right? Making fun of it.
No, I mean, I'm gonna see it. You know what? It could be good.
It could. Yeah.
You know, Michael Keaton's in it. He's telling the doc they should stay in touch. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, no, Russia's box office isn't anything to slouch at. So there could be a hit on the worldwide grosses, but it's interesting to think about like that. We haven't had a movie pulled like that from a market in such a significant way in a while. So I don't know. Does anybody have any thoughts on it? Like,
yeah, fuck Vladimir Putin. Who cares?
Yeah, fuck that man. I feel like the last time that this happened on such an interesting scale was probably prior to World War II, where studios were literally just pulling out of the German market and the European market at large.
If I'm the Walt Disney Company, I'm going to make freaking propaganda cartoons starring Donald Duck fighting Putin. That'd be great.
Yeah. It's not going to be as clever as Der Fuhrer's face was, but that'd be great. The only other story really is that Bendergate has officially ended, and John DiMaggio will be returning for the revival of Futurama that is set to be debuting on Hulu. So
my only thing is I kind of wish that he went into the negotiations the second time. He told him to bite his shiny metal ass, and he walked out. That's all I wanted.
I know. Don't worry. He'll have plenty of opportunities to say it coming soon on Hulu.
But I guess I'd rather have him as Bender.
Yeah. What was the story you had?
I was going to just talk about how AMC is charging more to see the Batman. And
elaborate on that.
Yeah, they're charging like $1.50 more to see the Batman. They call it a premium movie. And Spielberg and George Lucas predicted this 10 years ago when he was talking about seeing Lincoln, that they're going to only pay $5 for Lincoln and they're going to pay $10 for some Marvel movie. So
Alamo's primetime tickets went up too.
Yeah, I mean, I only know that because when I took Kellen to see Uncharted, obviously I got my season pass, but his ticket was like $14.
Yeah, the second time I went to see the Batman, I walked out of the theater and I was like, I want to see it again. I looked for a later showing. There was the one at 11, and obviously I used my pass for the one I just saw. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I went to buy it, I was like, $15. Oh, right. I can only do this once a day. And then I was like, wait, it used to be $12.75. Yeah.
Yep. Not surprised.
Nope. They're having to reconcile a new market, and not all those theaters are staying open that late. Like the first time I've started seeing the Alamo Littleton open later than 7:00 has been since the Batman came out.
Yeah, I think they're starting to get back into a groove. Like I said, I saw it Studio 666 at 10 in the morning. And it was the only showing that day. Maybe that's why there's a lot of people there. But when I left, I don't know, around 12:30, every single theater had the Batman poster on it. So my guess is there's going to be maybe one or two showings of the lesser films, and then the big movies where they're actually making money, they're going to start showing a lot more.
It's still winter, so I imagine when May hits, screenings will be more frequent.
Yeah, you got Doctor Strange and Morbius first, and then Doctor Strange. So yeah, be good.
Yeah.
Let's see if any of the other nerds wanted to send us something this week.
Hey nerds, Corinne here for another installment of Showtime, where I recommend something I've been watching lately. This week I am covering the entirety of Star Wars Rebels. So it's kind of fun because I've basically been watching the Star Wars TV shows kind of in chronological order. At least the ones, the animated ones I hadn't seen yet. Because I did season 7 of Clone Wars, then the Bad Batch, which both of those take place around the time of Revenge of the Sith. And then now I'm covering Star Wars Rebels, which takes place about 5 years before the events of A New Hope. So it's worked out perfectly. There definitely are a lot of characters who show up in all 3 shows, and Clone Wars characters who show up in Rebels, and Rebels characters who show up, later in Mandalorian and everything. So overall, I would say Rebels is a lot of fun. The first season is okay. I had heard that the first season was definitely the worst of the 4, but it's not terrible. There definitely are moments in it that I really enjoyed, and I think it has a lower ceiling on purpose because they're just trying to introduce you to the world and to the characters. But it does have a little bit of a different tone sometimes. It's a little bit more of that adventure of the week kind of animated kid show sort of vibe of, we kind of have to have not a moral, but I guess a lesson at the end, for every episode of here are these 2 characters on the good guy team and they don't really get along because their personalities clash, so we're gonna pair them up for an episode and then they'll figure out their differences and they'll start to get along, sort of a thing. And it gets a little grating, but and then another problem with season 1 is I guess it's not a problem. So there are a lot of cameos from the entire Star Wars saga. Like I said, Clone Wars characters who come in, and then, but they do have a lot of big cameos up front. R2-D2 and C-3PO, I think they're in the 3rd or 4th episode of the first season. Lando's in there. Leia, I think she shows up in season 2. But it's they kind of, it's almost like they needed this to get you invested in the show. And while some of it ends up paying off, some of it is also kind of just, it feels a little hammered in and it doesn't really go anywhere. And it's what? Okay, whatever. Season 2 is really good. It starts off with this 2-parter, which I had actually seen before, where, spoilers, Darth Vader shows up and he absolutely gets shit done and it's amazing. And then it very much changes up the dynamic for the rest of the series going forward, because previously the rebels had been located on this one planet the whole time, and then Darth Vader comes in and basically makes it so that they can't stay there anymore. And then they end up joining this larger rebel group and they just kind of bounce around and do different things as needed. So that's a lot of fun. And then season 3 kind of has a similar feel. They're based out of just this one area, but they kind of go off and do whatever they need to do. And you start seeing these bigger plot threads coming in. And again, spoilers, but they bring in Grand Admiral Thrawn from the Legends universe, which I already knew about. I've never read the Legends stuff, but I knew who Grand Admiral Thrawn was just because, everybody loves him as a character. So I'm like, yeah, it kind of made sense that they bring him into this universe now. And I think it's Lars Mikkelsen. I know him as the guy, I forget his character's name on Sherlock, but he did such an excellent job of just being this, like, really soft-spoken, but very deliberate, like, bad guy. Like, he respects his opponents, but he also knows, like, he's so superior to them, and he's just, like, you know, gaining little bits of information so that he can just tear them apart later, and it's wonderful. So that all culminates in the season 3 finale, and it's pretty awesome. And then season 4 is on the shorter side. I think it's only like 15 or 16 episodes, and the series finale is a 2-parter, and I had some of the stuff spoiled for me, but it still all comes together really nicely. There are a couple of things at the end where I was like, this was kind of cool in concept, but I'm not sure why you had to introduce it. And why you had to introduce it now, like at the very end of the show. I guess because this might come in handy for other Star Wars properties down the way. I don't know. And it's also really nice because at this point, in making the show, I think Rogue One had already come out. So they're starting to plant seeds of, like, things that are... So the actual show aired after Rogue One was released, but this part of the universe takes place before Rogue One, like, in the Star Wars timeline. So they are setting up things that happen in Rogue One. They mentioned Director Krennic. They mentioned the Death Star. We see one of the Kyber crystals being taken. The different crew members who are coming in to work on, you know, they don't know it's the Death Star, but we, as the audience, we know it's the Death Star. And so that was kind of nice. They also bring in a lot of the original voice actors or just actors for the voice acting for these characters. So, oh crap, what's his name? Well, Ian McDiarmid, he comes back to play the Emperor, which is nice, because I don't think he ever did that in the Clone Wars series, so I think, like, I don't know, Disney had a lot more money than, like, Cartoon Network did. They're like, here, Ian McDiarmid, come in and voice the Emperor for us. And, Forrest Whitaker, that's what I was thinking of. Forrest Whitaker comes in and he voices Saw Gerrera, whose character had actually been introduced in the Clone Wars series, but by the time Rebels takes place, this is, I don't know, like maybe a year or so before the events of Rogue One. So he's pretty much like right where he's at during the events of Rogue One, like both in terms of looks and in terms of personality. So it's kind of nice that they have that continuity with Forrest Whitaker coming in to voice him. And oh my gosh, just the voice cast. So many delightful, both like in the actual voice cast, like the regular folks. I love Steve Blum. He voices Zeb Orrelios, whose character is like based on concept art of Chewbacca in the very, very early drafts of Star Wars. And then Tia Sircar, I did not know until like maybe I was in season 3. I was like, wait a minute, Tia Sircar, that name sounds familiar. And I looked up, she's from The Good Place. That's how I knew her. I was like, oh, I didn't even know she did voice work. That's really cool. And then, of course, Freddie Prinze Jr., I knew he was in the show. But then they have like other guest actors come in to do bit parts or just, you know, other, you know, they revive characters from the Clone Wars. And so like Jim Cummings comes back to play Hondo, and a bunch of other people show up that I was like, hey, I recognize that voice. I recognize that voice. So, you know, what am I going to do? This is just how it goes. So I really liked it. I don't know if it's so hard because like Bad Batch is so different from this. The Bad Batch, like the animation is better, but I think Rebels just in general has like a better story. But again, it's like 4 seasons versus 1 season, so that's not really fair. But yeah, I really liked it. It's been a long time since I've seen Clone Wars, so I can't really compare those two, but I think it's like a good follow-up to Clone Wars. And again, the later seasons really build up things that are going to happen in Rogue One and then A New Hope. So that works out really nicely. And then it ends in such a way that like some of the characters could come back in properties like The Mandalorian that take place between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy. So I would really like to see some of these characters pop up in The Mandalorian. Sabine Wren, who's played by Tia Sircar, I would love to see her in The Mandalorian because she is also a Mandalorian and she also wielded the Darksaber at one point. So it would be kind of nice for her to, you know, teach Din Djarin, aka Mando, how to wield the Darksaber. So anyway, that's my general thoughts on it. I really liked it. You really get to love this whole cast of characters, and they really get to take on like a life of their own within the Star Wars universe. So yeah, go give it a watch, and I'll talk to you all later with something. Bye!
Hey everyone, Corinne wanted me to pop in here for a second to alert you to this year's Movie Madness tournament she has put together. Voting starts Thursday, March 17th, and it is a DC versus Marvel tournament this year. Movies include Batman Begins versus Spider-Man 2, The Batman versus Spider-Man No Way Home, Shazam versus Deadpool, The Suicide Squad versus Guardians of the Galaxy, Joker versus Logan, Aquaman versus Black Panther, Man of Steel versus Winter Soldier, and Batman v Superman versus Captain America Civil War. So March 17th, look for polls on Twitter and Facebook, and go out and vote for this completely inconsequential tournament.
Hey film buddies, follow me around Denver.
This week at the Esquire Midnights, they're showing Mad Max Fury Road, and important news coming following this week is that the Esquire Midnights will be midnights no longer. They will be late nights, starting at 10 p.m. So for the foreseeable future, don't show up at the Esquire at midnight on the weekend because the movie will be over most likely by then. But yeah, next week, starting with The Room and Rocky Horror Picture Show, they're moving to 10 p.m. Weird new era where movies are not quite as late as they used to be. So see you at the Esquire. Oh, and the Bug Theater is having the Emerging Filmmakers Project this Thursday at 8 p.m. Come see a bunch of local films and then talk about them in the Q&A afterward.
Next week is Filmsplosion 1982, where we will visit our favorite films from 1982. We have a top 10 list. So that'll be fun. It's a good year of movies. I had a lot of fun going through that list. I actually had to drop some. Usually I have like some stupid ringer in mine, you know, like, I don't know.
10 spot.
Yeah. The number 10 spot, but I actually had movies that I really enjoyed. So, there's that. And I'm also kind of in a conundrum, boys. 1992 is the official release of Army of Darkness, except in America. It came out in February of 93. So I don't know. I know, right? All over the world in 1992, except for America.
I made it the advertising art for the Filmsplosion 1992. So
it still counts because it came out, you know, in England in November of 92, right?
Yeah, I'm going to consider it a 92 movie for sure.
Cool. Sweet. Because then I'd have to redo my whole list, and I started panicking. And
we don't want you to feel weird, Ryan. Don't worry. But I owe Brad a list. So
yeah, you do.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and do the list for everything else too.
Yeah, I think our standard is Letterboxd, and they're calling it 92. So
yeah. I mean, that's what I use too. I mean, I cheated for Jason X so I could use movies the following year. But yeah, I was just, because, you know, technically it's not the 30th anniversary, but technically it is. And I know why it was delayed in America is because they reshot the ending and, you know, because in Europe is where the ending where he woke up in the future because he took too many drops of the serum. And then it was a downer. So then they came back and shot the S-Smart ending. But yeah, anyways, we'll be doing that. Thanks for listening. Alrighty. See you at the movies.
Bye.
Well, a real nerd knows who shot. A real nerd can follow the plot. And a real nerd will give it all they got. Lights, camera, action.
Thanks for listening to Real Nerds Podcast, a Nebulous Visions production. Stream or download episodes, read articles at realnerdspodcast.com. Stream us on Apple or Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or iHeartRadio. Follow us on Facebook, Real Nerds Podcast. Twitter and Instagram, @RealNerds. Watch us on YouTube, Real Nerds Podcast. Email us at realnerds@gmail.com. Call us at 720-6nerds5. Thank you to Sparks Mandrill, Mike at Plan 9 Studios, and Bolognium for all of our groovy theme songs. And that's how you fucking do it.